Hi, welcome back. I know it's been a minute, and I do apologize for that. But life happens and you get distracted. So, since I made my last video, I've been fired. So, today is Friday. I got fired 7:15 Saturday morning and was back home by 8 o'clock. So, yeah, I didn't see it coming. I should have, but I didn't. I had an incident at work, blah, blah, blah. They're like, oh, you should be fine. Yeah. About, 9 days after the incident, they decided to fire me. So, here I am. So, it's been a while to, I guess, recover from it, the shock of it. Although it's been awesome not having to get up and go to work. Because where I worked, I had to get up at 4:45 in the morning, which means I needed to be in bed by 9. Now I go to bed by 10 and I wake up at 7. I've applied so many places. I applied for unemployment. Do you know? And I'm eligible for the highest payout. Do you know that the highest payout in my state is $275 a week? What? You really? I'm trying to find a job, and in the course of one 4-week month, I'm gonna make what I normally was making in a week at my job. And something's gotta be done about that. Unemployment plays horrible. That was my first time ever. I've never been fired from a job. I am 59 and a half years old. I have never been fired. Never drawn unemployment. I've been very lucky. I'm the person that typically will find another job before I quit my current job. Unless it's just, extenuating kind of circumstances and I'm like, I can't do this. I've had a couple of those. We all have. Where you just take the leap and you quit because you're like, my mental health is suffering. And that job I was at, my mental health was suffering. I work in a male-dominated industry. I'm a truck driver. And their personalities can be a bit much. You got the nice ones, the quiet ones, the ones that think that women shouldn't be truck drivers, and just the condescending ones that just think that women can't do anything. Doesn't even matter if you're a truck driver, they think you can't do anything but stay at home and cook, But you know what? On my drive home, I realized I was going to be okay. I don't know how I got that calm realization. Because when the incident occurred that led to the firing 9 days later, I was terrified. I thought, this is it. I just made the leap straight to homeless. You know how we do. There's no in between. So the ride home, I just had a calmness. I was like, it's okay. And I've been okay. My ego side sometimes stresses, but I'm like, you know what? I'm of the mindset that one door closes, another one opens. And it was just, that wasn't my forever job. I say forever. I'm almost 60. I plan on retiring at 60. But I'm going to be one of those retired at 60 people that still has to work. But I won't have to work 5 days a week. Yay! And that job, I worked the weekends, which, who wants to do that? So, I've been applying. I've got a couple interviews coming up this coming week. And, we'll see. But if you watch my previous video, if you suffered through it, you'll know I've been married 5 times to 4 men. And one of them was the father of my daughters. And so the rule for Social Security is that if you've been married to somebody longer than 10 years, and when you go to file your retirement, be it 62 or your full retirement age, which for me is 66 3/4, I think, the Social Security office will pick the higher of the two. If the spouse that you were married to longer than 10 years, if half of theirs, because you can only get half, if half of theirs is higher than yours, then you can draw that spouse. So another rule is that if you were married longer than 10 years and you had a spouse, an ex-spouse that died, you get to draw 100% off of them. So the father of my daughters passed away at this point almost 3 years ago. And his is higher than mine. I found that out last year, going to the Social Security office to get my name changed back. And I inquired, and she was nice enough to pull his record. I don't know if you're supposed to do that or not, but pulled his record and saw that his was at 100%, was higher than mine, and informed me that I could retire at 60 off of widow benefits. I didn't know that. I thought I was still going to have to work till 62 and pull that. No. So she said, I can draw as early as 60. And if I waited till I was, I can't remember if she said 62 or full retirement age, that it might be a couple $100 more. And it's like, that's not really even worth it to me. I'd rather just drop down to working 2 or 3 days a week now, not keep working 5 days a week for another 2.5 years. Where I live, traffic is horrendous. You can't get anywhere fast. You have to leave early to go anywhere to be on time. And even then, it's not a guarantee. But, so that's what I've been dealing with. So, I don't know, I'm hoping some people can relate, and it's really kind of embarrassing, because you really try to act normal when you're out in public. I do it all the time. You try to act normal, like your life is all together. But then we have to know that there are people out there that their lives aren't all together. And I'm certainly one of them. So when I go out in public, I just try to act like I have my shit together. So, the marriage that just ended, it was an 18-year relationship. And so I'm 59 and a half years old. I met this man. When I met this man, it was Cinco de Mayo in 2007. So if I do the math, I was 40. And he had just turned 28 years old. 40 and 28. And not your typical who I thought was attractive man. He has since he's aged, you know, men, I don't know what it is. Y'all get that little gray hair in your beard and that more mature look to your face. And you get really good looking. But so when I met him at 28, he was still kind of that baby look. I mean, that's the only way I can put it. He wasn't, he looks mature now. He looks like a man now. When he was 28, if I look at pictures, and I don't think back, oh my God, I'm dating a kid. We meshed very well. And he absolutely adored me, and I could tell. But what bothered me was the age difference. I'm 12 and a half years older than you. Really, when you get to 12 years, age difference, does 6 months really make a difference? So, but the 12 years, oh, it really bothered me. And he kept saying it was just a number. He didn't care. But that was also back during a time when I drank a lot, every day. I had different things going on in my life. And my coping mechanism was drinking, and it was beer. I'm not an alcohol person, but it's beer. But if I had 3 beers in my fridge or 30 beers in my fridge, I was drinking every single one of them. And I don't know if I would have called myself an alcoholic, because at this point in my life, I haven't drank in over 2 years. I haven't had a beer, I haven't had anything, and I just don't have any interest. Which is interesting because, like I said, one of my coping mechanisms used to be drink a beer, but I discovered that I don't bounce back like I used to 3 years ago. You know, when you drink and you get bloated and you gotta pee all the time and you don't make good choices and you can't think clearly. And me being a truck driver, I can't drive. I was like, meh. And I just don't put myself in positions anymore where I'm around people that drink. So it's not like I have to sit there and go, do I want a beer? He's got a beer. No. Now, do I miss some environments? Yeah, I do. There's one thing I really like to do is play pool. And really the only places you find pool tables are bars. So, yeah. But it's funny because so that divorce was final in October of 2024. And last year I put myself on a dating site and talked to a few guys. It's weird, you know, how the conversations go. They make no sense to me. There's no flow. It's just bizarre. Anyway, so I met up with one gentleman, I use that term loosely, at a bar restaurant close to my house. And oh my God, was he a drinker? And he was like 65, 66, very hard living 66-year-old, and drank. I mean, we were probably at this place for 2 hours, 2.5 hours. The guy, I counted, had every bit of 10 beers in that 2.5 hours, and still drove home. Yeah, I didn't see him again. He was a bit much for me. It was like, I don't have any problem dating somebody who drinks, but if you're gonna have 10 beers on I think it wasn't even a weekend, it was like a Wednesday night or Thursday night, because that's what my days off were back then. You're gonna have 10 beers on a Wednesday night? That's brutal. That's what I used to do. No. So, yeah, I only saw him that one time. And I don't know how I got off on that tangent. But, okay, so with my last relationship, we actually divorced in 2019. And lived in Kentucky. And I moved, as soon as my divorce was final, I moved to Tennessee. Well, he came with me, because we were like best friends. We didn't really divorce over anything substantial. We were both in good places in our life. And he just happened to say, do you want a divorce? Should we get divorced? I'll give you a divorce if you want a divorce. All of that in basically like 5 minutes on a random night when I think I was doing my hair or something. And now I had things going on in the background too. I'm not completely innocent. And I thought, do I want a divorce? Maybe I do. And I planned out, thought out nothing. I didn't think past tomorrow. And now I'm like, do I want a divorce? So, since I just didn't say no, he took it as a yes, and I was like, okay, we'll get divorced. And I'd been wanting to move to Tennessee, and he didn't want to move to Tennessee. And I kind of knew that. I wasn't surprised. So when I moved to Tennessee, he just kind of came with me. It was weird. And then we became team truck drivers again, which we had done that previously. And so there was a lot of, he'd visit his family in Indiana and come see me in Tennessee, and we were trucking, and we'd come off the truck every summer because he had to do something specific for 2 or 3 months, which really damaged our relationship. And where all the betrayal and all that shit came from, which I think is a reason why he wanted to get divorced, because then he can go headlong into all this fooling around and being okay because we weren't married, but still hanging on to me, wanting me, and knowing that I probably wouldn't go anywhere. I'd always be right there. But so then he convinced me to remarry him, and I did eventually. Big mistake. Big mistake. And sold my property in Tennessee, moved to Indiana where he was living, rented a house, and it all really came to light. Yeah. And then realized I'd made the biggest mistake of my life by selling my property in Tennessee. You know, there's words when we get older that you think, I'll never use those words. Those are, I don't know, made up words or words that don't apply to me, and so here's one of them that I didn't fully appreciate until the last couple of years of my relationship was trauma. We had become trauma bonded, which I didn't know was a thing. I didn't understand, but we had become trauma bonded. And severely codependent because of that. And he didn't know how to tell the truth, and I didn't know how to stop crying. So by the time I moved out and I left Indiana and drove 1,000 miles away, I was depleted. I was so depleted of everything. And then we would talk about trying to fix this, because we'd been together, almost 18 years at that point. He was my best friend. Outside of the shenanigans that he did the last few years, we loved each other. It was a love you could see and feel, and I knew it. You don't get that kind of love too often. I didn't even get that with my daughter's father. And that was an 18-year relationship. So we worked on trying to get past everything, and in the process, I had him own up to everything that he had done, and it was like the more I knew, the more I was really suffering. And then one day, no, let me go back before that one day. And then his brother had a heart attack. I don't consider it a heart attack. He had a heart issue. And so leading up to that, my ex had become kind of difficult to reach, because we were talking every day, we were texting every day, we were messaging through Facebook, but and even right up before this heart episode, he was getting more distant, and I was like, oh, this is reminiscent of kind of how we were back in our relationship. Something's not right here. And then finally I was able to talk to him, and he told me about the brother's heart attack, and but he wasn't messaging me like he was before. It was still getting scattered. And then one day I woke up and we're no longer Facebook friends. I am blocked. And I'm like, what? What happened here? What did I, what? So I worked third shift at the same job that, I've now been fired from. I was working So at this point, I'd made it to day shift. So I was like, what the fuck just happened here? How come I'm blocked all of a sudden? So I had another account. I'd made a page for something a while back. Had nothing to do with trying to sneak around or anything like that. So I went to that page, and then I went to his page, and I saw where she had posted a photo of them in the inside of his truck. I recognized it, and she had tagged him, and I was like, oh, so this is why he's been kind of random. And I guess when he realized that she was going to post a photo of them, he needed to block me. Can't be having the ex-wife see this that thinks that we're still in love and might work through these problems. Nope, gotta block her. Well, that threw my world upside down. Didn't see that coming. But his behavior was typical for what I experienced in the last couple years of our relationship. Although this one was blatant, and his other ones were on the down low. So this one, I guess he decided he was going to keep. So yeah. So of course I had to do that spiral of betrayal for probably 8, 9, 10 months of posting shit on Facebook, and just looking like the crazy person. Because I was. So I've been trying to get back to normal. So now at this point, they've been together a year. Of course, he asked her to marry him 3 months after it showed they were in a relationship. He asked, I said yes. Oh, that's nice. Good luck. And nobody falls in love quicker than somebody that doesn't want to live at their mom's house anymore. Especially a 40-year-old. No, how old is he now? Especially a 46-year-old man. Good luck. So, that lies. Oh my gosh. I told him this. You lie so good. Like, I never thought that he ever lied to me. And then when I look back and I question everything, and he owns up to the truth, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, you're a good liar. Something you should be proud of. That's on a whole new level right there, buddy. Wow. But, good luck. So, needless to say, I felt like I've lived in, what is it, flight, fright, or flee. I've been living in survival mode for a year and a half now. It's getting kind of old and tiring. And just when you think you're normal and your job is steady and you're making enough money to survive and life is good, and then you get fired. And then, of course, all the cortisol starts rushing back because now we got to go back to survival mode. So if I showed you my apartment and how bad survival mode actually looks, I'm betting a lot of people could relate. It's kind of embarrassing, and I don't know if I want to show it to you. When I first moved here, I lived with my daughter in this 12 by 12 cave with one window that had a window unit air conditioner in it, so you really didn't even have the window. And it was cinder brick walls. And it was outside of her house. It was attached, but it was outside of her house. Like I had to take an outside door to go inside her house. And so I felt very isolated and alone, and like I lived in a cave, and I needed out of that. I thought I could live in that like for the rest of my life. I'll be fine. We can cozy it up. We can do this and that, and I could just live here. I'll be fine. No. After about 4 months of living in that cave, I was like, I've got to get out of here. And so I moved 45 minutes north and to an apartment that was upstairs. And then after about 10 months, a unit downstairs became available. So I moved from that one to this one. So now I'm on the first floor. But when I moved into the other one, I didn't move into it intentionally. And I mean that by, I was just happy to be out of the cave. So I took my stuff and I threw it in there, basically. Not physically, but I didn't move in intentionally. With intention, with intent. I was just happy to be out of the cave. And so when the first floor unit came available, and I was like, do I want it? Do I want it? It's gonna suck to move, blah, blah, blah. It's first floor. What's the security issues? You know, you start playing all that in your head. And the one big thing that came to me that made me decide to take it was, I've got to be intentional. And here is my opportunity. I can't take where I was and flip it into being intentional. I wasn't able to think that way. So when I moved from that upper unit to this lower unit, and everything that I was going to bring, I didn't bring it all. I brought stuff that I intended to use. I brought things that were useful and served a purpose. To whereas before I just took everything and that's where it landed. So I love this apartment. I love what I've done to it. It feels more intentional. Sorry, I got the burps. And but I've lived here, what is this? It's almost the end of May. And I moved in here in January. So I've been here almost 5 months. And I still have piles. Like I can't bring myself to go through the piles. Or, I'm sure you can relate, what happens is you start going through a pile, and then that creates another pile. So you get done with the first pile, and then you're left with the second pile, and you just leave it, and you're like, I'll get that another time. And 2 weeks later, that pile is still sitting there. Yeah, that's my world. So I'm lacking motivation. I'm filled with procrastination. And trying to figure out how to regulate my nervous system, because I've since discovered that's what it all comes down to, is a dysregulated nervous system. So instead of dealing with something, it's easier to just look past it So since I've been home the past week, I've tried to start dealing with these piles. And it's funny. So like I took out a tote to clear out the tote, and then I have stuff that goes in the garbage. So I go to the kitchen, throw it in the garbage, and then I discover that I really should do the dishes. So I start filling up the sink, and then I go back to the tote, and then I find something else to go in the garbage, and then I go back to the kitchen, and I'm like, I forgot started the dishes, so let me do the dishes. So then you do the dishes, and then forget about the pile that you started. So that's still sitting there. I haven't gone back to it. Because at this point, I'm kind of over it, But it's like, I'm not going to be able to go to bed until I deal with this pile. So what'll happen? I'll scoop it all up and I'll set it on top of the dresser, and it'll be a pile that I deal with later. It's like this vicious loop. So, yeah. So in case I didn't tell you, my name is Vicky. And my channel is Vicky Unscripted. Because really that's how my life has been. I don't say everything I'm thinking, but as you get older, you don't really care what you say anymore. I try not to hurt people's feelings. I definitely don't want to come across that way. But I don't entertain bullshit like I used to. That's really more of the unscripted part. So if you invite me somewhere and y'all are just gonna sit around and, I don't know, talk about people that's not there, or bitch, moan, and complain about something, or I have no interest. No. I'd rather have depth, or share with me something I could learn something about. I don't want to learn about who's doing who, or, the boil you got on the back of your I know. Sorry, that's for your mom. Go have those conversations with your mom or your sister or your husband or doctor. I can't help you. But so I just wanted to check in so you know that I haven't gone anywhere. I'm just trying to get a job. So I've applied at 18, 19, because there's places that were off. About 20 places I've applied to. And I have 2 interviews next week. So, yeah. So we're going to try and do this every day. We'll see how it goes. But life does end up getting in the way, and I'm truly sorry. But thank you for listening. And I hope you have a beautiful day, evening, wherever you are. I love you guys. Bye.